Have you ever watched an organization you actually respect, a university, a museum, maybe a public agency, just seem to completely implode under pressure? They make these sudden, irreversible decisions that just leave everyone scratching their heads. Well, today, we're diving into a really fascinating new framework that explains exactly why this happens. Okay, let's get into it.
So this is the big question, right? We're not talking about organizations that are corrupt or incompetent from the get-go. No, we're talking about the good ones, with good people, who suddenly just seem to self-destruct the moment a controversy flares up. What is going on there?
Now, here's where it gets really weird. This is the core puzzle from the source paper. The most catastrophic damage, we're talking firings, program cancellations, the whole shebang, it's all happening before anyone has even finished a formal investigation. The breakdown happens first, and the facts come trickling in later, if they ever do. This just completely flips our usual understanding on its head.
And that brings us to what the paper calls the pre-decision puzzle. This is all about that critical, chaotic period between when an allegation is made and when a final fact-based ruling can actually happen.
You see, the problem isn't just that mistakes are being made. It's that these mistakes are permanent. A reputation gets destroyed, a project is scrapped, a person is fired. And it all happens in this incredibly compressed window of time, long before due process can ever run its course. And the usual explanations, like, oh, it's ideological capture or just plain incompetence, they don't really explain this very specific pattern.
So to really get a grip on this, the paper offers a brand new diagnosis, a specific name for this kind of failure, and they call it administrative panic.
And here's the definition. Administrative panic isn't about leaders just losing their nerve psychologically. Nope, it's a structural failure. It's a fundamental mismatch in speed, a rate mismatch, between the lightning-fast pace of a social media firestorm and the slow, deliberate pace an institution needs to make a fair, sound decision. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
So it's absolutely crucial to see how this is different from other problems. For instance, something like ideological capture, that's an alignment failure. That's when the institution actually agrees with the angry crowd. But administrative panic is a rate failure. The institution simply can't process information as fast as the pressure is building. The failure isn't in their values, it's baked into their architecture.
And wow, this slide just illustrates that rate mismatch perfectly. Look at that top timeline. The external pressure goes from a single complaint to a full-blown media storm in just a few hours. Now look at the bottom, the actual institutional process, intake, verification, deliberation. That takes weeks, sometimes even months. That huge gap between the two timelines, that's the danger zone.
And it's in that gap, and what the paper calls the panic window, that something really dangerous happens. The institution stops weighing evidence and starts weighing pressure. Judgment gets totally replaced by reaction. The goal isn't to find the truth anymore, it's just to make the noise stop. And that is a direct path to those premature, irreversible actions we've been talking about.
So what's actually fueling this panic? Well, the paper argues it comes down to a really critical but often missed distinction between two signals an institution might get: genuine harm and something it calls manufactured unsafety. Let's break this down because it's so important. On the left, you've got experienced harm. This is the real deal, actual harm caused by actual conduct. This creates a real obligation for the institution to protect people. But on the right, you have manufactured unsafety. This isn't about someone being exposed to harmful conduct. This is generated by pressure tactics aimed at the institution itself. Coordinated complaint campaigns, media pylons. This kind of pressure is sensitive to volume, not severity. The critical mistake happens when an institution treats the second one as if it were the first.
Now, what's really insidious about manufactured unsafety is that it creates this self-reinforcing loop. The more an institution tries to be careful, to follow its own rules and not rush to judgment, the more it's accused of failing to act. Its very own restraint is twisted and used as evidence against it, which just ramps up the pressure even more. It's a brilliant and frankly dangerous tactic.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, the paper proposes a structural fix, an architectural intervention designed to build a real defense. It's called the panic buffer. So the panic buffer is basically a pre-agreed upon circuit breaker. It's a formal rule that says, hey, when we are facing this specific kind of intense, fast-moving pressure, we will not take irreversible action, period. We pause until some minimum predefined procedural steps have been taken. So it doesn't say what you should decide, it just governs when a decision can even be made.
So how does this actually work in practice?
Well, the buffer imposes 5 really clear constraints. First, use precise language. Call allegations allegations, not findings. Sounds simple, but it's huge. Second, and this is the big one, prohibit irreversible actions, like firings. Third, keep decision-making inside the house. Don't outsource it to external PR firms. And fourth and fifth, formally record that the buffer is active and document every single step. This creates real accountability and transparency.
So here's the magic of it, the core mechanism. The panic buffer works by just decoupling pressure from action. It cuts the wire. And suddenly, piling on more pressure doesn't get you a faster result. Turning up the volume doesn't speed up the process. This completely removes the incentive for those manufactured outrage campaigns because, well, they just stop working.
So, why does all of this really matter? This isn't just some abstract theory for a journal. It has very, very real-world consequences for the health and the integrity of some of our most important institutions.
And the organizations that are most vulnerable to this kind of administrative panic are the ones that run on public trust and legitimacy, not force. So think about universities, museums, nonprofits, libraries. Their authority is pretty fragile, which makes them prime targets for these dynamics. Protecting them means we have to design them to be more resilient from the ground up.
And that leaves us with a final and I think crucial question for all of us to think about. Consider the organizations you're a part of, or the ones you rely on. Are they truly designed to make thoughtful, deliberate decisions when they're under stress? Or have they become structured simply to react to the loudest voice and the most intense pressure? The answer to that question might just determine whether they survive the next storm.